Vampires are ancient monsters whose tales appeared in our world long before the dawn of civilization. The creepy blood-sucking spirits and damned have been the stuff of legend in all eras, on all continents, and in all walks of life. Some of the most terrifying and alluring monsters have always been the Bruxae, witches of unearthly beauty who kill for a taste of human blood. The world of The Witcher is now without these monsters. Few monsters have played as significant a role in the franchise as the Bruxae, whether we're talking about the book version of this vampire or its in-game interpretation. The fate of The Witcher has been closely tied to the Bruxae since the very first stories about Geralt of Rivia. That is why it is extremely important for fans of the Witcher universe to understand who the Bruxae are, why they are dangerous, and how to fight them. This is the old Witcher of the School of the Beer. As always, we thank you for your support of our work. We invite you guys to join the ranks of our patrons, and we promise you much more content in return. In the meantime, get yourself a glass of Tusing wine, because we're about to tell you about the Bruxae of the Witcher world and a very special individual of that race, the legendary Orianna. As always with our Bestiary videos, we start with the monster's mythological background. Bruxae is a female vampire from the myths and legends of Portugal. She's not a victim turned against her will. No, the Bruxae chooses her fate and takes the form of a vampire only as a result of powerful magic. After death, the woman becomes a Bruxae because her body and soul have been tainted by the magic she practiced. Interestingly though, the Bruxae continues to live a normal life during the day, looking and behaving so normal that even those closest to her may not notice the changes. At night, however, the Bruxae loses her human appearance and becomes something like an ugly bird of prey. She flies through the streets of the cities, almost invisible to the human eye, and chooses young men as her victims. It is impossible to kill her, and it is impossible to escape from her. If a man becomes the target of a Bruxae, he's almost certainly doomed. The only thing that can help against the Bruxae is a sincere appeal to God. Demonic creatures will not be able to physically approach a praying person. It is generally believed that earlier Bruxae lived only in Europe. In Spain, those monsters were called brujas, and in Provence they were called bruxas. However, along with the ships of the European colonists, the Bruxae came to the New World. Nowadays, legends about these monsters are popular in Brazil, Bolivia, and other South American countries. Over there, they are called jaracacas and are depicted as ugly female vampires who live in the jungle and have power over the snakes of the rainforest. In the game and books of the Witcher series, Bruxae appear quite often. For example, Bruxae are first mentioned in one of Andrzej Sapkowski's first stories, A Grain of Truth. In it, a Bruxae named Orianna bewitched the cursed half-human, half-lion Nivellen. The Witcher finds out that Nivellen is not dangerous to humans and only wants to live in peace. But Geralt is not so sure about his female companion though. He meets her near the fountain in the courtyard of Nivellen's house. Even though Geralt initially believes her to be a mermaid, he later realizes that she's actually a vampire. He's forced to fight the Bruxae, but the forces are not equal and Geralt is one step away from being beaten and killed. In the last moment, Nivellen comes to his rescue. He kills the Bruxae, for whom he had feelings, and the blood of his beloved removes the curse from him and makes him a normal human again. In the game series though, Geralt frequently encounters Bruxae. An entry in the Witcher's Bestiary describing Bruxae reads as follows: "If you must travel through the woods, steer clear of any places where you can hear several different kinds of birds at once. That sound means you're entering a Bruxae's territory and can kiss your life farewell." Fortunately for us all, Bruxae are rare creatures. Most live far from population centers, for they care greatly for their own safety and make their lairs in places where they cannot be taken by surprise. Those who decide to live near men avoid crowds and emerge from their shelters only at night. When they do, one could almost mistake them for delayed travelers hurrying towards their night's lodging, yet subtle details give them away. Their close ties to birds, their piercing voices, and the breathtaking speed of their movements. Bruxae are far swifter and stronger than men, but their greatest asset is their ability to turn invisible. Bruxae dart about with uncanny speed, and with their power of invisibility they can easily confuse opponents and attack unexpectedly or from behind. Thus, when fighting these vampires, the moon dust bomb is a great aid. While it cannot eliminate the vampire's invisibility altogether, it can make it easier to track its motions. A generous smearing of vampire oil is also effective. Bruxae use their sharp claws to attack and can easily break through an opponent's guard by buffeting him with a hail of blows from all directions. They will try to bite their prey and drink its blood once it is weakened, so every witcher who expects to encounter such a monster should swallow a black blood potion beforehand. Bruxae are also known for their sonic attacks, which knock down and stun their prey. Even in the first part of the Witcher game series, the player will encounter several Bruxae. One of the most memorable encounters is with the Queen of the Night, the owner of an elite brothel in Vizima. She bites a lady, but explains that the latter asked for such a favor herself. As a result, Geralt is faced with a choice: either kill the Bruxae or pardon her and kill the people, the relatives of the bitten girl, who are already on her trail. In the first case, the Witcher receives the recognition of the Order of the Flaming Rose, and in the second, the quote-unquote special thanks of the Queen of the Night. So the Queen of the Night is one of those females the player can sleep with twice in different ways and get two different not safe for work kind cards. The first one is when the brothel owner is in human form, and the second one is when she has turned into a vampire and thanks Geralt for saving. In the second Witcher game, the Bruxae are just ordinary monsters that for some reason, most likely by mistake, were turned from vampires into ghosts. But in the third installment of the franchise, Geralt encounters interesting Bruxae several times. First, Geralt meets a Bruxae on the Corvo Bianco estate right after arriving in Toussaint. Then, during a quest in the Olive Grove, he experienced a love triangle with a Bruxae in the main role. The most memorable story with the Bruxae is definitely related to Orianna, the same vampire from the cinematic to the third Witcher game DLC, Blood and Wine, who was quite adept at kicking Geralt's behind and whom the Witcher barely managed to defeat. The first meeting between Geralt and Orianna takes place during the quest named The Man from Sintra. The Witcher meets Orianna together with Henrietta at a dinner party. They investigate the attempted theft of Henrietta's family relic, a huge jewel in a setting called the Heart of Toussaint. The thief was unsuccessful as he was thrown out of the window by Orianna. The latter says she was just lucky, but later we'll learn that the thief simply did not have a chance. Orianna disappears from Geralt's sight for a while. Later, however, he meets her again during the quest, The Night of Long Fangs, and this is where her character is revealed to its fullest. Geralt needs Orianna to help him find the Unseen Elder. She was recommended to him by the Witcher's good friend Regis. He warned that Orianna was also a vampire, but no one seemed to know what she was doing. After meeting Orianna, Geralt asks for help to find the whereabouts of the Unseen Elder. After not too much persuasion, Orianna agrees, saying that there are tons of easier ways to commit suicide. In return for her help, she asks for a favor. Geralt has to check the orphanage she owns. The Witcher quickly agrees, but when he gets there, he sees a horrible sight. The bodies of the children are torn to pieces, the building is destroyed, and only one boy is still alive. Orianna asks Geralt to find the culprit and kill the latter. After all, it was the first time in the Witcher's life that he carried out an order for a vampire given by another vampire. Geralt begins his investigation, and while he initially finds and kills the perpetrator of the mass murder of children, who turned out to be an Alpha Garcane we told you about in the last issue of the Bestiary, the situation takes an unexpected turn. After examining the notes and evidence, Geralt realizes that Orianna is only pretending to be harmless. In fact, she did not run the orphanage out of love for the children. The little orphans were her personal walking blood vessels. Furious, Geralt returns to the Bruxae to kill her and finds her drinking the blood of the last surviving boy. That same boy stands between the Witcher and the Bruxae, saying that she took care of the children and helped them, asking Geralt not to hurt the Bruxae. Orianna herself confirms the boy's words and says that a little blood in exchange for shelter, food, and love is more than an equal exchange. The Witcher calms down a bit, but in the end he decides that it cannot go on like this forever. He heads off and leaves Orianna alone, but he promises to come back for her one day, and this promise cannot remain unfulfilled. The journal entry describing Orianna reads as follows. During the soiree organized by the Mandragora, Geralt met Orianna, a valued patroness to many local artists. There was something about this woman that made most who met her feel somehow ill at ease. She could not break the witch's iron-hard self-composure, of course, but she did give him the impression she was no normal aristocrat, and his impressions were usually spot on. Regis's charismatic friend was revealed to be a fellow vampire, though nowhere near as civilized as humanitarian as he. She owned an orphanage outside the city, which, as the Witcher discovered to his horror, she used as a sort of blood cellar, visiting it whenever the urge struck her to drink some blood straight from an orphan's neck. Geralt swore that if they ever meet again. Strangely though, it is still unclear who Orianna really is. Is she really a Bruxae? Or maybe a higher vampire? The developers of CD Projekt Red gave a straight answer to this question. Orianna is a Bruxae. Period. Die-hard fans of the third Witcher game, however, disagree, and they have a good reason to doubt it. Many of them, as a matter of fact. To be more precise, 3 of them. Number 1. Orianna gets along peacefully with a whole bunch of people and even takes advantage of them. Although even Sapkowski stated in his book saga that Bruxae hate big human cities and other crowds of people. Second, Geralt's medallion does not tremble in Orianna's presence, and among vampires, it only doesn't react to higher individuals. And number 3, Orianna has no need for human blood and consumes it at will. Only higher vampires can fully control their bloodlust. In the end, these inconsistencies alone are more than enough for conspiracy theories and speculation. In response, those who believe the developers refute all the evidence. Orianna gets along with people because the game version of Bruxae is different from the book version. For example, in the first Witcher game, the player meets the aforementioned Queen of the Night, who was able to get along with people in a brothel quite successfully. Geralt's medallion does not shake due to the fact that Geralt is wearing a doublet when he meets Orianna for the first time. And in this outfit, he simply carries the sign of the Skull of the Wolf in his pocket, because it simply sticks out from under the doublet. And about the blood, Orianna does drink blood. Yes, she does not throw herself at every passerby to quote-unquote suck them dry, but she successfully uses children for her needs. The whole thing is just cleverly organized and quietly harmonized between I want to drink human blood and I want to live in a world of humans. Either way, it is up to the player to decide what to believe, as there are signs that Orianna is a Bruxae, but there are also some inconsistencies that point to the nature of a higher vampire. Bruxae are some of the most interesting monsters in the Witcher universe though. They are not as quote-unquote imbalanced as the higher vampires, but at the same time they are strong enough to kill even the strongest humans. They embody complex images of vampires who have a hard time fighting the bloodlust, but who are very similar to humans and want to coexist with them. Their image is very different from the stories of Portugal and Brazil. The only coincidence is that the Bruxae is necessarily a female vampire. The most interesting Bruxae in the Witcher universe is definitely Orianna. Her story is amazing. It makes you think about what is good and what is evil. Is it possible to use the people you help for your own needs, for your own ends? And if so, where is that line that is not to be crossed? That is all for today though. In the next video, we will continue the series of the Witcher vampire videos, and we will tell you about the intelligent vampires, such as Alps, Mulas, Nosferats or Neckarats, and Catacans, about their game portrayal and mythological imagery, and also about how Geralt hunted the vampire while being wasted drunk. There will also be a video about Regis and the Unseen Elder, but a little bit later. Do give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and write about what you think of the Queen of the Night and Orianna, as well as what the author might have gotten wrong. Have fun everyone, and see you soon when the old Witcher speaks once more.